And good Sunday morning. It is the 5th of May, and I'll tell you, I've been appreciative of the weather we're starting to have now. We did have one day into the 80s, which you got to get used to, but considering that we've been in the 40s and 50s for so long in the mid-Atlantic, it kind of stinks. But anyway, welcome to Poppy's Workshop and the Sunday morning live stream. So let's take a couple minutes and show what we will be doing today and kind of give you a hint as to what else is going on. A lot going on. I am now teamed up with another charity, and I'm going to be producing a whole lot of toys, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But these are some of the smaller toys that I'm working on right now. You might have seen these or this. This is made out of canary wood, some of the scrap canary wood that I had, and I've been trying to use up the wood that I have on hand. So yeah, let me do this. So these are just two different styles. Let me get this one down. There we go. Okay, so we have two different styles of old-timey trucks there. And of course, I do have some trains that I've finished, and I thought they came out pretty well. So I'm doing a whole bunch of those. And then let's talk about this right here. This is just dry fit at the moment. This, of course, will come out. So I just recently teamed up with Mom's Advocate, and they do work with children with cancer. And in this case, they're going to be doing a costume drive. So, you know, some of the kids can dress up as Superman, Batman, whatever, while they're in treatment and everything like that. The woman who started Mom's Advocate, her son had cancer and was under treatment, and apparently now is doing fine. So we are now teamed up together, and I'm going to be providing toys for their activity bags that will be given out. I think it's going to be around October-ish or so, and that's going to be for, I think, their annual ball, or also their costume drive. They want to get more costumes for the children. So I'm going to be making probably about 120 to 125 toys. So what I'm doing is I'm starting out with some of the simple toys, and this is one of them. So I've actually already cut out blanks for, man, does that look angled? Okay, look, a squirrel. So I've already cut out blanks for 18, and then I actually started, you know, making the finished prototype so I know what my steps are. I did learn that before I Forstner drill this hole, I need to Frankenrouter my profile first, because what happened in my first piece, it wound up chipping out almost like a U here. So on my other prototype piece, I'm going to take a barrel sander and, you know, sand that down a little bit. It'll look fine, but this is more along the line as to how I want to do it. You know, I put in a decent sized wheel, and I'll be, you know, when I glue it, I'll sand those flush. So that is the first, what will be the first 18 toys. And of course, I have my standard ones, the animals. I'll have the whale, I'll have the horse, I'll have the dog, of course, you know, so those three have the hearts. And then actually, I did cut out some more of these cars, which is another simple car to make, and the boat. But these I did out of a little bit softer wood, and I'm not sure if, whoop, I got to get this down here. There we go. So let's try that again. Boat and car, blah, blah, blah. But somehow or another, when I pulled off my my stencil, I noticed that there was some banging there. I don't know if it was already there or not. And then there's a little bit of chip out. So one of these just chipped out. So I really do not like the softer woods. You know, here what I'm using is quarter sawn, sewn. You saw it, a quarter, whatever. Oak. So that is a nice hard wood. In actuality, these last 9 that I did, I cut with a number 10 Pegasus blade, and it went through beautifully and actually finished pretty well on the cut side itself. So I was pleased with that. So this is what it will look like for the first one. And again, for the simple toys, you know, again, I'll be doing the train, the boat, and the car. And then from there, I will be doing the animals. Then for the older kids, I will be working on the more complex toys, board games and things like that. I'll do some simple ones. I'm thinking of ones that you've seen at restaurants, of course, tic-tac-toe. I'm going to try and make a whole bunch of those, lasering in the lines and everything like that. And what is it? It's the peg jump. It's the triangle, and I think it has 10 holes, 9 pegs. The idea is to keep jumping the pegs. They use tees a lot of time for those. And so I'm going to try and make some of those simple games as well. But the more complex ones, I have a baseball game, board game that is with dice. And I've shown that. There's some videos on that. And I am working on a football one. So I think those will be 2 popular ones with the older kids. And then I do have a golf one. I think we've got that worked out. A boatload of drilling on that. And I really do want to finish it with paint. So that's going to be a little bit more complex. So there we go. So let's talk about what we're doing today. We're making oval things. No, we're not. So this is the base. I cut that out and I routed it already. And this is what we will be working on today. So let me get that down a little bit. This is a Sheila Landry design. This is her butterfly garden clock. So this is where the clock will go, and that'll probably be one of the first parts that I cut out, because I'm going to be doing that by hand rather than a router. So I want to put in a nice fresh blade and work that so I can get that as much on the line as possible. And I hear my phone ringing, and I'm going to have to ignore that right now. So there we go. That's what we're going to work on. So I'm going to switch over to the scroll saw and go from there. So at the scroll saw, we now have the number 5 Flying Dutchman, which is usually my go-to blade. So I'm going to start with the number 5. I'm still having some issues. I think my eye, although healed, I think my prescription might have changed a little bit in that eye. So I'm seeing things kind of wonky. I'm finding that I do have to use my magnifying glass more to see things. Man, I can't even see the little indentation in that. But I do go back, when is the 7th? So today is the 5th, 6th, oh, so Tuesday. Tuesday I go back to the eye doctor for her to check my eye and also check to see how my prescription has changed. So we'll see what has actually happened there. Okay, so I think we're just about ready to start. Let me do a couple other things here. As always, since I'm going to be doing some more curves, I'm going to smooth out that back a little bit. And then we're going to get my stool up higher. There we go. So what I did is I've got the table really steady now. I put some 2x4 blocks underneath it. because it is on wheels, and I wanted to make sure that I don't have any wobble. Ugh, and I think I have to loosen that just a hair. So here's the back side. That is a lot of holes. I didn't realize, when I first started doing this, I was looking at it and saying, oh, this will be an easy cut. And looking at the basic cuts themselves, I got to figure out which hole I'm using. I have to figure out, I was looking at, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's get this right here. Wait a sec. I got to shut up for a sec. Concentrate on what I'm doing. There we go. So I thought it was an easy design, and the cuts themselves are easy. And here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up and tighten it some more. That feels better. Okay. I think that is good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up my tension just a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, mentioned it last week, the one disadvantage of the 30-inch, I can't reach the tensioning knob. All right, where did I put it? Oh, I am going to put on my headphones, and you might want to lower your volume just a little bit if you hear the dust handling system. So on goes the dust handling. And I'm going to put my hearing protection on. Okay, I have music in my ear too. All right, so here we go. Yeah, my eye, see if I can stay on the line here. Here we go. I'm going to go slow. Not that slow. So the little cars that I did, I cut from a 6-inch by 12-inch by 3/4 inch slab. And I was able to get 9 cars on that slab, which is pretty good. So the goal is, of course, to minimize waste, maximize the wood that I'm using. Yeah, I was pushing a little bit hard there. So today is going to be a busy day for me. I've already changed the air filters in the house. I've got to clean the air filters on the bedroom air filtration system. And I also need to clean the air filtration in the workshop. Then I have to replace a light switch that died in one of the bathrooms. It's been on its way out for a long time, and it just happened to die yesterday. And of course the yard. Now this particular piece, because there are so many internal cuts, and a lot of them, as you can see as it comes around, a lot of small, so it'll actually take longer. Let me concentrate here. It'll actually take longer for me to thread my blade than actually do the cut. So if you look at the back part of the butterflies, their wings, you'll see a lot of drill holes, but they have to be widened out and misshapen a little bit. And one of the other things I've noticed since my eye problem is my cuts are not quite as smooth as they used to. I am micro adjusting a lot more. So I can, when I run my finger, I can feel it. You can't see it really, because I'm staying within half a point. But that's just my perfectionism. But I really like Sheila's designs. They are challenging in many different ways. In this case, as I said, the actual cuts themselves are easy, just a whole lot of them. So if you look where my fingers are, just before I finish, what is that? Let's smooth that out. There we go. So you look at this, that's an easy square. Then you got to go here, but you got that 90. And then you got to back out of it. So that is a little bit tricky because you can't nibble or anything like that. That's going to be a quick turn. So most likely I'm going to use a number 1 blade for this sphere. That's one thing that I'm going to do. Hey, Archie, you're here. Glad to see you, my friend. I don't know if you heard my introduction, but I am teamed up with an organization that works with our local cancer hospital, and I'm going to be doing about 125 toys for them. Thankfully, I have until October to do that. So just so that you can see it, because I don't know who else is on right now. I'm doing all my typical toys, but this is one of the new prototypes that I did. This is dry fit right now. This is one of the prototypes for the smaller toys, and the little people comes out. So I did 18 of those. Well, actually, I should say I cut out 18 of them, and I'll be finishing them. And then this is kind of my filler project here. Oh, okay, I can't see. So that's one of my filler projects. So it's Mom's Advocate that I'm going to be doing the toys for, which is nice because the funny thing is this kind of gets me kind of a side door into the hospital in a way, because these activity bags are given to the kids, I think, either just before or just after they get out of the hospital, after their treatment. The hospital itself could not accept my toys because I did not have certification. There's a certain type of certification for toys, and they're like, no, in order for us to have them, they have to be certified. I'm like, oh, great. Looked into it, very expensive to get certification. So I am going to forego that, unfortunately. Ah, man, I hate when that happens. Okay. Yep. I don't think I can use this blade anymore. You know, let me get this out of the way. I kind of bent that. All right, let's go grab 3-5. I think I forgot to do my secondary tightening on the blade. That was when you skip steps. Yeah, so they're going to do the activity bags. They also give out costumes to the kids so they can dress up, like Superman, Batman, all the superheroes, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Great service that this woman does. Nope. Yeah, there we go. Okay, tighten that up. Still trying to get used to this this Pegasus. Now I'm going to slow the blade down a little bit here. All right. Let's try this again. Yay! Hey JJE, glad you could drop in. I always appreciate you stopping in and saying hello. Always good to see familiar names. And yeah. So hey Archie, how's your project going? I know you've been busy little beaver. Hopefully, let's try this again. I'm gonna go slower. You know, this is why I like nibbles instead of this pre-turned and back in. There we go. I'm gonna have to revisit that. The one thing that I get nervous about if I'm not doing a nibble and I do that back in is that I'm twisting the blade more and twisting it a lot. So I think that may be part of my problem with the thinner blades. When I find that they're starting to drift, there's a twist. So I've been doing more nibbles like this, slight. So I'm using the edge of the blade that sticks out. There we go. So I should be able to then turn gently and then continue. But I've noticed John hasn't been on in a while. Now, I haven't been on John's show in the last, it's been a week or so since John's last show, maybe 2 weeks. I've lost track. So has anybody heard? Is he on vacation? Got fed up with us? Because I know, you know, when I lost the sight in my eye and I was kind of concentrating on healing, I stayed off his show. And maybe it was a sensitivity to light and everything like that. And I was depressed. So it was like, yeah, I would not have been a very good guest panelist. So, there we go. But I think this piece is actually going to take me a couple weeks. Because what I'll probably wind up doing as I'm working on toys, there we go. As I'm working on toys, you know, I may go in and do just a couple cuts and clean up this corner here. There we go. Let's see. You know, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more for you. Let's get that. I think you can see that better now. Let's see. Let me read what we got here. Yeah, I haven't seen John in 10 days. Yeah, yep. Yeah, that I think was 3 weeks ago when I lost the stream. And now it looks pretty good. What I did, my home network, I have my A and B network. And my B network, I forgot what frequency it is, but it's the faster frequency. For some reason, my laptop that I keep in the shop had connected to the A network. So when I look at my software, I can see the strength of the signal and the number of drop frames. So right now, I've got over 10K kbps. My drop frames are 0. Whereas when I was doing it 3 weeks ago, when I did it 3 weeks ago, it was in the yellow and in the red. and I had drop frames like crazy. Then I was getting all kinds of warnings, and yeah, I'm yakking away, and didn't realize that I lost my connection. Dummy me. Blah. Alright, so what I'm going to do is come in at a 45-degree angle here. Touch that corner, and then I'm going to nibble. With a 5 and 7, the nibble is really easy. There you go. And this is also why I like having a foot switch. Because when I do that nibble and I want to make that turn and I don't want to do a live turn, just lift my foot up a little bit. Alright, let's do things up. So yeah, I'm glad you got that first one done. I can't wait until you make it available to the public. I'll be excited to see that. And of course I'm being vague for you. Let me look here. Yep. Yep. Okay. So I was just checking the comments here. So yeah, and I watched the end of his last video 10 days ago, and he just kind of dropped off without warning. So that was a little bit strange. You know, I'm going to have to clean up that corner there. Because usually, you know, he'll give us, okay, I'm going to end the show, blah, blah, blah. And he did not. So this is another corner that I'm going to revisit. Now, if I went the other way, this, you can see, you really can't see, but the line actually that goes past this way, so if the line going like this goes past by about 4 points. So when I go and revisit this after pulling the piece out, I'll add that little notch there. Because what it's trying to do is make that circle for the clock appear nicely. So Gareth, how's the weather at home? We were hitting the 80s this week. I think we're going to be the high 70s or just touch 80 today. We're entering what we call fall summer, or it's still the pollination. Pollen is absolutely ridiculous out here right now. And clean that corner up. There we go. But we call this fall summer. And then we have summer. Then we go into what we call the porch of Hades. Or the front porch of Hades. That's when we get into the 105-degree plus days. And the breeze off the Atlantic is just not enough to make it worthwhile in cooling us off. But yeah, we always say that we have 11 seasons here in the mid-Atlantic. Alright, let's pop that off. Ooh, that was dumb, Rick. Usually I can pop them right out. Okay, so as I said, this way I just have to come out and notch just about half a blade length. Not even half. There we go. Just like that. And I think all my corners look good. Oh, this one I'm going to clean up a little bit. There we go. Let's see. 2 months seems optimistic. No, I understand that you're not able to commit. Oh, wet, wet, wet. Yeah, we're actually supposed to get rain later this afternoon, evening, and then tomorrow morning it's going to rain pretty much from 2 in the morning till about 11 in the morning. So have you been able to get on your scroll saw any? I've been finding with all the projects just around the house, I'm trying to do that blind, that ain't working. All right, let's do it this way. I find all the projects around the house just makes it very difficult to get on the scroll saw. So I have to block time. Like yesterday I had a lot of projects to do around the house, and I said, okay, I'm going to work an hour on the scroll saw. I'm going to get 9 cars cut out or drilled. Because that's what I did yesterday is I laid down the patterns. I'm going to go in, actually I'm going to do the 45 here. Laid down the patterns, drilled all the holes. So you can imagine looking at this piece that I'm on right now, if it's not 100 holes, it's very close to it. There's a lot of holes. I'm drilling. I'm like, are you kidding me? So you look. I mean, look at all these holes. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Where is he? There he is. Okay. Let me get my pointer. I can come around this side here. So if you look at all these holes here, there we go. I mean, just look at all those holes. But your scroll saw is outside? Yeah, I try with the camera angle to get it so that you can actually see what the heck I'm doing. Now, this is in the way just a little bit, but I want you to be able to see what the pattern looks like, but being close enough to see the blade as well. And right now, this is the angle. So in actuality, you are slightly in front of the blade, or I should say behind the blade, and that is where the camera is. So you're looking down that way. Whereas over my shoulder would be, you really can't see it, would be this way. But I think coming from the front, it works very well. And I can adjust it many different ways. Wow, so it's outside your shop. Ooh, I think you need a third shop. Well, I'm using my garage, and I've kept my Mustang out this entire week. My family's been in Ohio visiting my oldest daughter, and they're actually on their way home right now. They left about 7 in the morning, and they're expected to be back somewhere around 5 or 6 tonight. It's a long drive. I think it's 600 miles. Maybe more. I know back to our old home in New York, it's 504 miles. But my youngest daughter went with my wife and my grandson also. So with the grandson and my daughter, they do have to stop a little bit more frequently. Yeah, so if you're working outside, you're kind of limited by the weather. I'm assuming that you are undercover, though. Oop. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to do some live turns. I think with this, I'm going to just start at one end and just kind of work my way. Now, Talking about blades on this piece, like I said, most of my work is going to be the number 5 ultra reverse. However, the small holes for the butterfly wings, I am actually going to use a spiral blade. And you know how much I hate spiral blades. But for these types of holes, the spiral blade will work very nicely. All right, let's get this on stretch. Oop. There we go. Let's see. Big canopy thing. Okay. Let me catch up reading here. What type of scroll saw do you have there? Oh, drafting and creation outside workshop. Yeah, it really doesn't take up a whole lot of space, especially if you're talking either a 16 or a 21 inch. So if you look here, let's see. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. So I've got this parallel to my wall. That's as far as I can go out. So here's my wall. Oh, you can see my shadow. Here's my wall right here. And I would say I'm about a little bit more than the width of my table from the wall. I do have 2 different holders for my magnifying glass. This is on the wall right now, but I also have a connector here, so I can just lift it and put it over, depending on the angle that I want to get. So then, if you've seen some of the other pictures that are on my website, I think either that or my blog, I forgot. I have behind me my drill press, my little workbench, and then I have my Franken router. So I'm basically total of about 15 feet along this wall here, going this way and behind, and really no more than, even having walking space, about 5 feet to the left. So this is at about 3.5 feet from the wall. So this here is 3.5 feet. And then bigger walking area. If I have my car parked, I have a very narrow area here to be able to walk if I want. So yeah, it's very compact. So you can do an awful lot in a small amount of space. So, give it a try. You might surprise yourself in how much you can actually pack in line. So where I'm facing right now, that way, I have another small table that has my 1x21 or 1x20 belt sander and disc sander, and behind it is my small, I think it's a 10-inch or 14-inch, I forgot which, drill press. So I keep that with my really small drill. Let me zoom back in here. Get back into focus. There we go. So these really small holes, there we go. All these small holes here. Some of them I can't reach with my big drill press because I have a deck on it and a back part on it. So sometimes when you get some of the wood, I lose some flexibility. So I just go over to my little drill press and hammer a few of them out, so to speak. Let me tighten that before I forget. Okay, so let's see. Let me get us zoomed in again, get some light, make sure that you can see. Hey, Mom! How's your mom doing? Doing okay? Yeah, I appreciate that. And actually, I can send you some pictures of mine as well. Okay, I think zoom in just a little bit more. And get you centered a little bit. There we go. Okay. You can't see everything that I'm doing except for the actual cut itself, which is okay. So, now, here's another way of doing this. I'm going to come in and I'm going to go with the steep angle here, come to the corner, so you can look and plan how your cuts are. So now what I'm going to do, and I do need my puffer a little bit here. There we go. So now I can back in, and I'm already at very close to the proper angle to do this line here. And I'm not twisting the blade at all. Or if I am, very little. It's imperceptible. So that is a way to do your back in. Just be careful of how much you have to twist the blade to get it to cut when you back in. There we go. So yeah, I've been trying to use up my wood before ordering more. I know I have to order more wheels. So you figure 125 cars, that's a lot of wheels. You're talking 500 wheels alone. And 250 axles I have to cut, depending on the style of connection that I do, because either I do an axle and I glue the wheels to the axle so that it rolls free through the vehicle, or I use pegs. The peg gets glued into the vehicle body, and the wheel spins on the peg. Because the peg has a nice little mushroom on the top to keep the wheel on. So a number of different ways to do the wheels. Then I have the more shaped wheels that look real pretty, and I do have some slabs, so they're just a plain slab of wood that's round as a wheel. There we go. And I actually like those on my animals. So I've got to get a medium size. I ran out of those. It's just, I don't want to do that one yet. There we go. I'm just reading the comments right now. Yeah, I mean, in essence, you are in tune, not only with the blade, but the saw itself. But yeah, so when I am cutting, let me get this started first, and then I'll kind of talk you through what I'm looking at and what I'm doing. So now this is a fairly easy wood to cut. It's 1/2 inch. Notch that. So it's 1/2 inch, and it's on the softer side of the hardwood. So I am looking, let me get my pointer here. I am looking where the blade touches the line. So I think you can see, let me change here. So here's my line. I am looking right there, and usually this is where the paper kind of builds up. You see a very, very almost imperceptible bubble of paper and wood start to come up there. And I'm watching how the blade is moving and reacting. So, this is where you adjust the speed of the blade your speed in guiding, and you'll see me just slightly adjust. And I'm watching how it's traveling. And then once in a while, you'll see me stop just a little bit, and I pull back, again, imperceptibly, because I want to make sure that the blade, I'm not pushing too hard. Yep, I need my puffer. There we go. So, I don't know if you probably can't see it, but I see that little bit of dust in front. And again, my preference are these one-point lines. Because when I get past 2 points, you've got to pick a part to stay on. So it's like, oh, I'm going to stay to the left side of the line or the right side of the line. Where here, it's like, I'm going to split this line right in half or right in the middle and make it disappear. So I pull back a little bit. You learn how the wood cuts based on the type of wood and its hardness, how the grain structure is, and even my fingers, I can feel certain things, mainly the vibration and how hard I have to push to make it move. So you're using a number of senses. Now I've got my noise canceling headphones on, so I don't hear the blade as much, but sometimes you can not only see, but actually see, feel, and hear the chatter. Like here I hear some chatter right now because I'm going against the grain in a different way. So now, but it's still cutting very smooth. That may tell me, oh, I have to speed things up, speed the stroke of the blade. But here, you don't hear it as much. Yeah, I micro adjust. And again, if you watch a lot of other scroll saw YouTubers, they go so fast, and I can see the difference in actuality in the quality of their lines, the smoothness of their lines and stuff like that. So here's a funny thing. I was actually just talking about my uncle, who was actually the world's fastest piano tuner. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records. So I found an old forum where they were talking about him. They loved his classes and all that, and they talked about his world record, which basically, a normal piano tuner will take about an hour and a half to tune a piano. He did it in 300 seconds, so 5 minutes. But here's the thing. He would not let anybody check the tune. Now, with the world records, he was within, I think it was 80%. All right. So he sacrificed some quality, but he made the comment that, about quality over speed. And, it was just a gimmick. And they always said that even without trying to break a record, he was just a fast, accurate piano tuner. He was doing it since childhood. My grandfather was a piano tuner. So it's funny that I read that yesterday. Yep, piano tuner, so technician. So he not only rebuilt, but he'd go out and tune pianos. My grandfather was actually very famous. He did it for the Astors. We're talking 1930s, 1940s, up through the 70s. Guy Lombardo for his twin pianos during the New Year's show he put on TV. I mean, let's see, my Uncle Steven did a lot of the rock groups, Journey, I forgot, all the big rock groups of the 70s. I'm not sure if he did Aerosmith or not, but just a lot of them. But anyway, back on that, to bring it home to scroll sawing, is you can scroll saw your lines, your cuts, quickly. No doubt about it. All right? But you are going to be sacrificing quality. Now, some people, that quality will be sacrificed sooner, some later, but there's always, let me get that line, there's always a point of diminishing returns. Let me get that line cleaned up. There we go. And that's where you have to decide, what you want to do. Now, because I also like doing puzzles and intarsia, I want to make sure that my lines are always very accurate. So I can cut, a 12-piece puzzle of sea creatures out of 12 different species of wood, and when I put those pieces together, I have very little, if no need, there's no need for me to sand or adjust it. It's as if I cut it from one piece of wood. That's how accurate I am. In intarsia, that becomes very important as well. So I try and maintain the same habit of my accuracy, how fast I go. And I try and let it be cathartic for me as well. Listen to music. All right, I'm going to do a live turn. So yeah, it's funny reading that last night about my uncle. It was a forum, professional tutors, piano tuners guild or something like that, from 7 or 8 years ago. My uncle, let's see, my father died in 2018. No, he was the last brother. My Uncle Stephen died just shortly before him, if I remember correctly. I'm losing track of time. So, yeah, come on. So yeah, I kind of have the same philosophy. Can I go faster? Sure. Will it still look okay? Yeah. But I want it to look really good. Let's look at messages. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 1 point, that's what I use. It's the thickness of a line. So if you're in Photoshop or something like that, you'll see when you draw a line, you can select whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20. That's just the thickness of the line. I mean, I don't know, it's definitely not 1.9 millimeters, 2 millimeters, no, because, what is it, 3 or 4 is 1/8 of an inch. I mean, we're talking pencil, less than pencil width. You've got to do, let me look at my mechanical. This actually, here we go. You're talking like that, and I think that may be like 0.5 millimeters or 0.25 millimeters. So we're talking less than a millimeter on that. So, right. So in terms of the subsequent work, theoretically, when my uncle did it, understand that he would be on a peg for actually 1.9 seconds. Is that he was 0.5. that he was on a peg for 1.9 seconds. And he hit them all. And again, in order to be in the Guinness Book of World Record, it had to be within a certain specification of being in tune. Where, you know, when he normally does it, he's like, I want it to be 100%. So kind of like what I do with the scroll saw. So let's say that I'm cutting this line, and I do it slow, and I nail this line 100%. This line I split dead center down the middle. Now if I go faster, at a certain point, I'm going to drift off the line. Now, depending on what I'm doing, like a piece like this, it doesn't matter that much. It's acceptable, all right? To other people, they'll look at it and they probably won't even notice, oh yeah, I drifted off the line by 0.5 millimeters, all right? My goal, if I drift, I'm not drifting more than 0.25 either left or right. See, so if you look at this line here that I just cut, because of the kerf of the blade, that line has completely disappeared, except here at the corner. I'll revisit that. So theoretically, when my uncle got the world's record in, I forgot what it was, in the 1970s, theoretically you did not have to go back and retune it. But understand that if you're talking about a person who's playing it and they have perfect pitch, for example, then they might notice it, where somebody like me, who's not quite perfect pitch, wouldn't notice it. So he was of the opinion, hey, doing the tuning in 300 seconds, 5 minutes, that's great. But I wouldn't want anybody to go back and see how at a perfect it was. So I kind of have the same opinion. This piece, like this line here, I can be off a little bit, but I don't want to be, A, because I want it to look like a machine did it, in essence. But being able to say, no, this is all by hand. So yeah, that's kind of my philosophy on it. You've heard me say this before. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So what I want to do is only reinforce my good habits. Let me get this clean. Clean finish there. Finish that. Nibble that a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Yes, the tension, you know, I'll go like, oh, let me get down here. Usually up a little bit higher at the middle. Is I'll push and I'll know, yeah, that feels good. There's not a lot of movement. Or I'll pluck it and I'll listen for that C note. You know, so again, if you watch what I do, let's see, let me do these smaller ones here. Let me get this. I gotta shut up for a sec. So let me do this. Let me go run get that clock. I'm curious how accurate my cut was on that clock. So now you can see, here is the clock that I will be using, quite large, and we'll see if it fits. And no, it does not. So I cut this, unless it's the tabs. Oh, you know something? It's the tabs. Wait a sec. I thought I was real close, which is okay. I would rather Ooh, it does fit. Ooh, okay, this is tight. I'm not going to put it in all the way. So it fits a little bit tight. So I'm going to have to, ooh, that is, I got to be careful. So I'm going to take my barrel sander and sand it just a little bit. But that fits near perfect. With just a little sanding to make it fit with the tab just a little bit better. So, you know, you'd rather make a cut where you have to go back and take a little bit more wood away because you can't, it's very difficult to put wood back, if you know what I mean. You know, you can use your super glue, you know, your CA glue, and your and sawdust, but it's never the same, of course. Yeah, my eye focus is just off a little bit. But yeah, so the tension, like I said, you saw me do the left-right, so that's one tension, but also the tension that I'm feeling as I'm pushing. And I use that term push because they always say, don't push, don't push. You have to. As I guide the wood to the blade will cut the wood at a certain speed. So some people, let me turn this and stop. So some people will be pushing too hard. So let's say that I'm cutting right now. So let me get my fingers in. I'm pushing that way, back. Now if you watch the blade and watch the wood, so I'm cutting, and then if I let go, you see it pop back. So let's do the same thing. As I'm cutting, I'm going to lock my hands here and I'm going to let go. So it does flex backwards, or deflection, I guess is the proper word, a little bit. Oop. Kind of hold there. So you want to minimize deflection, or you want that deflection to be directly front to back. So that's the thing you want to look out for. So I'm going to do a tricky turn here. Not tricky, but a kind of fun turn here. I'll show you in a moment. So this goes way past to this particular stalk. And there we go. So what I want to do is I need to turn my blade around. So what I'm doing is just making a little notch, boom, then I can back in, back up, go past just a little bit, slight angle, and now I can continue with the cut. Sometimes it's a little bit trickier to get that started. The other solution would be to go back to your starting point and go the opposite way. Depends on how comfortable you are. Alright, let me focus on this. There we go. Okay. Right. Now, the funny thing is, my family, starting with my grandfather, were piano tuners. So my Uncle Stephen was one, my Uncle Perry, my Uncle Tyrone. My father was not, though as a young man, as a boy, he worked in my grandfather's piano store in Manhattan and then Long Island. Actually, I think it was just Manhattan. because my father at 17 went into the Navy. He left high school his junior year and enlisted in the Navy so he could sail the seven seas. Actually, he was in the Korean War, so he was what we call the silent generation. He was born in 1934, if I remember correctly. So yeah, he and the brothers. So my father never followed the family footsteps. I do have a couple cousins. It was only really Uncle Stephen's kids. So I'm going to do this. Who followed in his footsteps. Stephen Jr., who passed away. I believe his son is a piano tuner. So there's the fourth generation. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. The piano tuner in the family. My father went into electronics, was vice president of the company that invented the pacemaker, and then started his own company. And the co-inventor of the pacemaker wound up being the treasurer of my father's company. And he had an invention which was the first solid-state automatic exposure control for X-ray machines. So what we see today in terms of the digital images, my father was the grandfather of that based on the methods of the automatic exposure control he invented, which is kind of funny. And I look at it, and I have one of his inventions on my memory shelf in my home office that his vice president had sent to me about a year ago. Asked if I wanted it. So, yeah, we're slowly, let me zoom out a little bit here. There we go now. So, you can see, slowly making progress around that. And the wood is cutting very, very well. You know, I'm going to do this. No, actually, I got to do that with a 1. Got to stick with the plan. Don't be changing the plan, Rick. You always get into trouble when you decide to do things differently. You know, because I know a number 1 will make that turn. Now, I may go back afterwards and widen that line. So, let's see. So, when I do this here, and I do the 1 in the turn, depending, I'm not sure, I may go and revisit that. I'm not sure. Probably not. I'm not going to be stupid and risk making an error. Because sometimes, you got to remember, we talked about perfect practice, but also remember too that perfect is also the enemy of good enough. So it would be like, all right, I got this here, and this is splitting the line really nice, but I'm going to go back and clean it up just because, and then you mess it up. So you've got to know when to stop as well. Like I will revisit that corner, I think, or I may say it's good enough. So this part is a little bit more funky. I'll do a live turn. Kind of a live turn nibble. Gotta turn up for a second. Yeah, so I guess with my uncle, when he did the tuning, I don't know if he had a device attached or not. Because he was also an inventor too when it came to pianos. So it's really interesting, my family. One of the other things that my family was known for was the ability to learn other languages. I remember when we were going to be moving to Germany, my father was fluent in German within 6 months of arriving in Munich, where I was taking lessons, my family too, for like a year and a half. And he was still not fluent, though I learned German. I found, though, that I had to be in country to learn the language faster. That's how I learned Mandarin. Russian, when I learned that, I was not fluent, but had a good grasp of words. Get that corner there. Whereas my great-grandfather, I believe, they claimed he spoke like 10 or 11 languages. My grandmother spoke, I think, 6. I can only verify English, French, Hungarian, and German is what they spoke and wrote. I have some letters in French from my great-grandfather to one of my aunts, his daughter. So, yeah, kind of look at this. Right, 2 to 3 springs. So yeah, if you go by what these guys posted, is that it took 300 seconds for my uncle to tune the piano, and he averaged 1.9 seconds per peg. So that gets you to about 150 pegs, maybe a little bit more, depending. So yeah, that's that's how it is. But yeah, I remember him tuning a piano with a tuning fork. I never saw him use any of his other devices, because I would go into his workshop when I visited as a teenager, because he had a great stereo system in there he'd let me listen to when he left for the day. But yeah, I remember watching my uncle's tune pianos with the old tuning fork, which is pretty cool. Let me start here. But again, the 70s, that was just a gimmick. Just back then, getting into the Guinness Book of Records was the thing to do. Yeah, I feel the blade is a little bit looser on this right now. I didn't get it fully in. So I'm going to go a little bit slower. Yes, I'm going to stop. Yeah, so there's a little bit more slop there on that. So I'll just be a little bit careful so that I don't drift. And you can hear a little bit more chatter. Yeah. This will be an interesting piece. I gotta figure out so it doesn't interfere with my toy making how many cuts I want to do on the day that I'm on the scroll saw. But I think I'm almost out of 3/4 inch wood. I think I've got one or two more slabs. So I think I'm going to make a few more animals. Get those blanks cut out. And I'm debating if I'm going to do a production style. You know, it's like, let's get the blanks cut out. Then after the blanks, we'll take it to the, well, actually I should say, my production would be getting them stenciled up, then drilled out, then cut, then Frankenrouter, then any other drilling you have to do, like that piece that I showed you earlier. I have to go back after the Frankenrouter and drill the hole for the little people because of the tear out of the edges. Then the sanding, cutting the axles, gluing up, and finishing. Sanding and finishing. Pull up harder here. Yep, 88 keys on a normal piano. That's probably the only thing. And I took piano lessons, gosh, would have been between 2nd and 4th grade that we did it. I think it might have been 4th grade because I think my sister was in 6th at the time. That's before we moved. We might have still done it. But I never liked taking piano lessons. But the funny thing is, I look back now and I regret it. I did teach myself to, as an adult, to play the saxophone. But I wish I had learned to read music and learned to play the piano and or guitar when I was a youth. I know at one point I was going to try and play drums because that was so cool. That might have been, let's see, junior high school, so probably 7th grade. Then realized, nah, I don't like that. So yeah, it was a shame that I didn't stick with the piano lesson. Same thing with my sister. But by the time I made it to 6th grade, I was interested in mini bikes, you know, the small motorcycles is what we call a mini bike, a dirt bike, riding in the woods and stuff. My sister was into horses by that time. And I was also playing golf. I would go to golf and caddy camp during the summer in Cape Cod. So, yeah, priorities. But I think it would be helpful for kids to learn learn to play at least one instrument, just even as a hobby. Okay, I can't see. Where is the piece I want to do? Alright, to the right of that. I think it's that one. Yes. Alright. I think this may be my last cut. Because let's see, we're on hour 19. Let's see. Yeah, definition of drummer, someone who wants to hang around with the musicians. Yeah, in actuality, here's one for you. How do you know that the stage is level for the band? Alright, the answer is because the drummer is drooling out of both sides of his mouth. Da-da-da! Yeah, there's some really good drummer jokes. Alright, so here, I'm actually going to do that little tail first. And that gives me an area to back into. There we go. So I'll go back to my starting point, spin it around, back it in, and then go and cut. So you'll notice that I tend to plan my cuts some in advance, but also on the fly. I want to figure out what's the most efficient and accurate way to cut something. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so after I finish this, I'm going to flip a breaker on my electric panel, remove the old wall switch in my bathroom, and clean that up. And hopefully it'll only take me 5 minutes to swap that switch out, because you're only talking 2 screws with the wire, and then, because I already looked at it, then 2 screws to get it mounted, then 4 screws to put the cover back on. So not a difficult thing, but I'm going to take one of my rubber gloves with me, just in case I don't, I think I got the right breaker, but I don't want any electrical surprises. All right. There we go. Okay. So let me just put that there. So now you can see the progress that we're making. Let me shut off the air. There we go. And get my headphones off here. My ears are sweaty. Let me read this here. From Mitch Mitchell. I'm not sure I know who Mitch Mitchell is. Who is that? And when you say the band, then I'll probably know. The other two belong to U2 and Motorhead. Well, yeah. Okay, I know who they are. Definitely. So there you go. So anyway, here's the progress that we've made in the hour or so. A lot of people are looking, that's not a lot of, but again, I wanted to have these just look really nice and clean. Let's see what it looks like from the back, and you get a general idea. Let's just get it there and tilt it up. So yeah, you can see how that's starting to look with the cut. Yeah, and I think it's coming out very well. So I'll probably do a little bit more on that today. I've got to figure out what patterns I'm going to throw on my remaining wood. And probably tomorrow I'm going to order up a few more slabs of probably, let's see, walnut, some maple. I'm not going to do the softer wood. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Mitch played with some guitar guy. There's a great answer. We'll see. So, definitely going to order. I think I'm going to order some wood tomorrow, and that means I should have it in by the end of the week. But as I said, I'm going to do the production format, but I may do it in groups. So for example, looking right now, I've got, I think it looks like 2 dogs and 2 hippopotamus that I've got to finish. 1 tractor, but I don't have the wheels for it. 2 more of the little cars, and then the 18 of this little guy here. Let's get that so it doesn't. So 18 of those. So with that, 20-something of them. I do have 2 baseball games that I've already drilled out and just get them finished. Then I'll have to break the laser out probably sometime next week or the week after and go from there. So yeah, that's the plan. And I kind of like this little car in some ways. It's very simple. It's small. It kind of fits under what I would call my Pocket Pal series. A kid can just put this little thing in his pocket and can play with it anywhere. I think this is probably good up to 4 years old, I'd say probably 2.5. Well, yeah. My fear is this as a choke hazard. So 2.5 may be a little bit early. So 3 to 4.5 years old, maybe even 5. Not quite sure. Yeah, there we go. Bird's eye maple, definitely. I love cherry, mahogany. I like the ones with very fine grain. This has a very sharp grain. Some people will look at this and say, hey, is that plywood? So this is oak, quarter sawn. So you'll look at the patterns and they look really cool. And some people say, oh man, that looks like plywood, but it isn't. But it gives a real nice horizontal, well in this case, horizontal patterns. Whoop, my wheel fell off. Oh no. So really like that. Let's see. Yeah, I think this one here, you can see, let me get it under the light. So you can see, there it is. So you can see the lines from the grain. But it's, everything has, a unique look to it. So I just like that. But yeah, cherry, but you got to be careful with cherry because that can burn real easily. So, you got to make sure that you're cutting at a decent speed and everything. Yeah, I like quarter sawn of a lot of different woods, but mainly I can get the oak. But I'll tell you, I have to order bird's eye maple. I've got a source in Canada, but I think they limit it to like 4.5 inches wide. I like 6 inches wide because I've designed my stencils in Photoshop to 12 by 6. Actually, I should say 11 by 6. So it can print out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Or, I do have it on legal 8.5 by 14. I can print those out as well. So, I try and plan my stencils and everything. But, yeah, the bird's eye I can't. So I get the regular, in the United States, I get the regular maple that comes from the Northeast. Again, I love canary wood with the browns, the oranges, and all that stuff as well. That's really cool. And what I like, again, because even though it's a really hard wood, I call it an oily wood, a wet wood, and it cuts beautifully. You'd think you're cutting, birch or something. It just cuts so beautifully, and the blades don't dull as quickly. So I really like that, but it's, again, more expensive. Some of these slabs, basically I'm looking at $12 a slab. They're all pre-finished and everything, smooth edges. And, that's why I want to get 9, 10 cars on a slab so that I'm dollar cost averaging to $1.25 a piece. Adding the wheels and everything, I'm keeping, I want to keep the cars under $3 a piece as best as possible. But, some of the other toys, it's like, I look at, I think I did it with mahogany. So you're looking at probably $12, $15 on some of these other more adulty, older kid toys and everything. So we're definitely doing that. But yeah, it's not just in the United States. A lot of the species that we get, Paduke, what is this one here? I forgot the name of it. Shoot, it's the black and white, but anyway, zebra wood and everything. We're talking South America, we're talking Africa, Western Africa. So all over the place that these people are sourcing the wood, but mainly in the United States, it'll be maple, it'll be oak, pine, of course. I'm trying to think what else you would get. A lot of different ones. I'm trying to, let's see here. Ooh, one of the greatest influences. Yeah, I am trying to use each bit. I've been wasting way too much wood. That's why when you look at some of my patterns where I'll throw a love spoon on it. So I think do I have one? Nope, not that one. I was just looking at one of the patterns that has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars on it. 3 different styles. It's a pickup, a car, and a bus, 3-windowed bus. You've seen those before. So in terms of waste, I might be able to get a small love spoon out of that. There's like, like here, there's some waste wood here. I'll probably save this. Might be able to use it for something. I'm not doing intarsia or anything, but being that this is just the boring, cheap wood, I don't know. But, here is a piece of that I saved, and this is the canary wood. This is expensive, so I'm going to use this for something, whether I make a tiny car or whatever. So I'll save that as best as possible. The grand loss of wood in French. Yeah, and there's just a lot of things that happened in Europe. World War I, World War II, a lot of lumber got destroyed during that time. We had out here, there was different pestilences that affected different woods. Of course, out west we have these forest fires, which are stupid because California won't properly maintain the fires. Sometimes you have to do prescribed burns. Look, the Native Americans did that way back when. They would burn the grass, they burn the underbrush, everything like that. And yes, you're causing some pollution and things like that, carbon, whatever they want to call it, but it's that preventative maintenance in a way. And that's the other issue is around the electric lines and everything. They're not allowed to trim out some of the grasses and stuff like that. California's stupid. But, we have lightning strikes and things. I think, what was it, last year? Canada, there's some tinfoil hat stuff there, but Canada had some major forest fires last year. But again, if you do some prescribed cleaning, the underbrush and everything like that in the forest, you can prevent a lot of it or slow it down or limit the size of the destruction of the trees. So yeah, that's what it is. So hey, we're at an hour and 30 minutes, and I've got to mow the yard. I've got to change out that light switch and all that. So I think that pretty much covers it for this week. So probably what's going to happen, I'll probably be continuing on this next week. I may be cutting out some of the simple toys next week, so it's going to be more of the same, kind of boring. So we'll do that. But yeah, it's been great catching up with you, Gareth. I know you came in 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then of course I got cut out. But yeah, it's always great to see you, always great to chat. And I'll send you some pictures of my shop because I don't know if I have any in my current blog on my website or not. And I know usually when I'm videotaping, what an old term, when I am doing my live streams or recording for YouTube, I don't have, I don't show the entire shop. So there you go. So yeah, if you can drop me some pictures of what you got, that'll be really cool. So there you go. Hey, may the Lord richly bless you. Make it a great day right here at Poppy's Workshop.